and welcome everybody. I am Brant, and we got a buttload of video game news to talk about today. Since I've been sick, we missed pretty much like a whole week of news, so I was gonna do a little news roundup for you guys. Yeehaw! We got everything from The Witcher 3 Next Gen being delayed, to Kingdom Hearts 4 being announced, Vicarious Visions dying, and a whole Kojima PlayStation acquisition mix-up. We got all that and more on another episode of Game Corner. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you like what I do, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and I'll stop wasting your time. So first things first, we got this whole Hideo Kojima being acquired by PlayStation Studios MixUp. There's been a lot of discourse on the internet for the past week or two based around the idea that a lot of people think PlayStation Studios is about to acquire Kojima Productions. I think a lot of this drama started a couple weeks ago when Greg Miller and Jeff Grubb were saying that there's like some really big PlayStation news incoming, and then we never really got that news. And since then, I think people's speculations have been just running wild. So then, of course, to add fuel to that fire, Hideo Kojima out of nowhere just drops an image of PlayStation Studios with Death Stranding in the banner with no text attached to it, leaving everyone to absolutely explode over on the internet, only to follow that up literally 10 minutes later by saying that it was a mistake and they're not actually getting acquired by Sony. The official tweet says, "I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, but Kojima Productions has been and will continue to be an independent studio." I am not sure what the hell he was thinking for this tweet, but it is not only coincidental, but absolutely hilarious to see how many people just dogpiled on this tweet only 10 minutes later to be absolutely made to look like a fool. I have to admit that it is awfully coincidental that all of this happened to play out like it did. And it is especially funny to me that it ended up not being anything at all. I mean, obviously take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt. Hideo Kojima is going to do whatever the hell he wants, and if that's partnering with PlayStation, then so be it. But personally, I don't think this is going to happen. Kojima Productions has literally no reason to be acquired by anyone. They operate independently and don't have to take orders from anyone. And being acquired by someone like PlayStation or Xbox, sure, up front is going to allow you to have a lot of independence, but over time is going to expect you to become a lot more present in the company. So I think that would take away the autonomy that Hideo Kojima clearly craves out of his work. Not to mention, Jeff Grubb literally just confirmed over on Grub Snacks that as of a couple weeks ago, the Xbox and Kojima deal was still on. So like I said, he has really no reason to be acquired by Sony. That isn't going to help him in any way, shape, or form. He knows how to get a game out there. He has the name behind his games, and he doesn't have to really worry about stuff like that. I especially think since the whole Konami situation went down, he's probably not really looking to be a part of a big studio or a big company, and it especially seems like he's more interested in being friends with movie stars and kind of just doing whatever the hell he wants. Jeff Grubb also confirmed that Death Stranding as a brand, as an IP, is owned by Sony, but that also gives him a lot of power because he can at any point go and make some other IP or franchise anywhere he wants. Anyway, like I said, I wouldn't hold my breath for PlayStation to acquire Kojima Productions anytime soon, but I surely thought this was a pretty excellent late April Fool's joke. Moving on, it looks like No More Heroes 3 is going to be coming to next-gen consoles and PC sometime later this year. Xseed Games announced that No More Heroes 3 is going to be getting ports over to next-gen consoles and PC, which is much needed for this game. Sounds like we're getting a fall 2022 release, and this seems pretty solid to me. I don't see any reason why they couldn't get it out in that time span. Thank God too, because this game desperately needs some better hardware to run on. The Switch port is pretty rough in the graphics and performance department. The frame rate is not only god-awful at times, but it is kind of ugly as shit. So obviously some HD visuals, 60 frames a second, and upgraded loading times are gonna do this game a lot of favors. And it looks like Xseed has previously ported No More Heroes 1 and 2 to the PC, so I think it's in good hands. Also, Suda51, baby! Seriously, you should genuinely play a Suda51 game. I highly recommend No More Heroes. While it's not the most mechanically sound game, game ever created. I think it's more than fun, and it's packed to the gills with style, so if it looks interesting to you at all, I'd highly recommend picking that up. Moving on, it looks like Kingdom Hearts 4 was announced last Sunday at the 20th anniversary Kingdom Hearts event. Jesus Christ, I can't believe Kingdom Hearts is 20 years old now. I've quite literally been playing that game more than half of my life, and even though it's burnt me pretty hard in the past, I wouldn't have it any other way. Anyway, this new game is very Kingdom Hearts looking, that is for sure. It's as confusing and as weird as you'd expect it to be. It was a pretty short trailer, but they kind of show off Sora waking up without any shoes on in this world called Quadratum. It's got this very photorealistic sort of vibe to it, and it even takes place in Shibuya. You actually get to see Sora running around and battling the Heartless in these real world locations, which is kind of neat. As you would expect, it's oozing with style from beginning to end, and they show off this little teaser right at the beginning that almost looks like Endor and what we would think would be an AT-ST foot there. If I were a betting man, I would absolutely say that we're going to be getting a Star Wars and a Marvel level in this new Kingdom Hearts game. I'm honestly kind of surprised we didn't get that in Kingdom Hearts 3, and I think it's just kind of because of all the development hell it went through. They kind of needed to pack a lot of Disney in a small amount of time. And from the looks of it, they're kind of doing sort of a soft reboot sort of situation, I'm hoping. And maybe could even go a little bit harder into the reboot, honestly. I would honestly love to just see them wipe the slate clean and just do a Kingdom Hearts without any numbered thing after it. It's just gotten so convoluted and nasty. I think it really kind of puts off a lot of people from getting into the series just because of how much of an undertaking it seems to be. Not to mention, I was hugely disappointed with Kingdom Hearts 3, being a pretty big Kingdom Hearts fan since the original ones came out. I never really got much into all the side games and stuff like that. I've always been more into the mainline series. I don't know if you're seeing a pattern here, but I'm not really into spin-off games. And anyway, after just such a long period of time between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3, I just think there was a lot that was lost there. So I'm hoping that this game can kind of strip everything down to the beginning and kind of come back with something new and fresh for this franchise. This series definitely has more than enough legs to stand on its own, and it has some really neat stuff attached to it if you could just kind of make it a little bit more simple for people to digest. Anyway, I wouldn't expect to see this game anytime soon, probably not until late 2020s. From the sounds of it, this trailer was actually shot in Unreal Engine 4, and they're going to be transferring the whole game into Unreal Engine 5. So yeah, really early development here. I wouldn't expect this game to look like this pretty much at all when we see the final product. Still really cool to see that this game is in development and that we're seeing something fresh out of the franchise, hopefully. Really quick, we gotta pour one out for the homie. Unfortunately, it is my duty to let everybody know that the Vicarious Visions is dead. For the uninitiated, Vicarious Visions was an Activision developer who were behind things like Skylanders and Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and unfortunately they have been absorbed by Blizzard after working on Diablo 2 Resurrections most recently. The reason that this is such a big bummer is because Vicarious Visions was really starting to come into their own and really making some quality products here, and they've always been sort of known as like a support studio, and now they're being delegated to being only a support studio. So that means we're definitely not going to be seeing any remakes of classic Activision franchises probably anytime soon. This is especially a big bummer for me because I was a really big fan of the Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake, and we're definitely not going to be seeing a sequel to that anymore. I was really hoping they were going to kind of keep continuing through the series and kind of remaking the games. I actually really love Underground and American Wasteland, and I would have loved to see them get up to that point and add all those levels and stuff into the game. From the looks of it, they seem pretty enthusiastic about this merger too. Their official tweet says, "We've officially merged with Blizzard Entertainment. Our development team will remain in Albany, New York, and fully dedicated to Blizzard games. We invite you to follow us at Blizzard Entertainment." R.I.P. Vicarious Visions. You guys deserve better. Anyway, last but not least, the Witcher 3 next-gen versions are getting delayed. We've had quite a bit of CD Projekt Red news coming out in the last couple weeks with them announcing The Witcher 4, talking about how they're still working on making Cyberpunk the game that was promised, and they're apparently working on DLC for Cyberpunk that is supposed to come out later this year or next year. So with a schedule like that, I'm not entirely surprised that they're going to be delaying The Witcher 3's next-gen update till indefinitely. That's right, no release date in sight as of right now. They're pretty much shelving this game until I imagine they have time to work on it. Previously, the game was being worked on by Saber Interactive. I do want to make clear that this is just a free next-gen update to The Witcher 3, so it's not like a new game or anything. Just like how we got that next-gen patch for Cyberpunk 2077 recently, it's going to be something similar to that. Anyway, it sounds like they wanted to bring it back in-house for that last stretch of development. I can only imagine they do not want to fuck this up again, and they'd rather put it in their own hands than somebody else's. The official statement on Twitter says, "We have decided to have our in-house development team conduct the remaining work on the next-gen version of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. We are currently evaluating the scope of work to be done and thus have to postpone Q2 releases until further notice. We'll update you as soon as we can. Thank you for your understanding." This actually isn't even the first delay we've gotten for the next-gen version of Witcher 3, so I was already pretty skeptical from the get-go that this was even going to come out this year. Like I mentioned earlier, they seem to have their hands really full right now with everything else going on over at that studio, so I was kind of surprised from the get-go that they're adding even more work onto their workload here. Obviously, this raises some huge red flags about the game, whether or not it's even going to come out, and when the hell it's going to come out. And so IGN actually went out of their way to interview a CD Projekt Red rep and kind of get some more information out of them, and they said, "When it comes to next-gen launch of Witcher 3, there's one comment I wanted to make. I've been looking at headlines around the internet and one drew my attention. Witcher 3 next-gen delayed indefinitely. This sounds like the game is in some sort of development hell. I want to say it's not a fact. There have been a lot of insinuations that we're going to launch June of next year. That's completely not the case. The game is going to be finished in-house. Nobody is saying the game is delayed in some monumental sort of time gap ahead of us." Oh, wow. Somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bedroll this morning. Even though this representative is saying to not be worried, I would be highly skeptical of this. This isn't the first time CD Projekt Red has had issues getting things out on time. And they even said recently that they still have a long way to go when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077. And also, once again, like I mentioned, they're also working on DLC for that game, on top of them also working on The Witcher 4. Obviously, I don't know all the ongoings within CD Projekt Red, so I'm sure that they have teams for all of these different things, but it just seems like they have a lot on their plate. Anyway, I wouldn't get my hopes up for that coming out anytime soon, but it does sound like we have quite a few cool things coming down the line from CD Projekt Red. Anyway, that's all the news I got for you guys today. This was News Roundup. Yeehaw! We went over the Witcher 3 next-gen delay, Kingdom Hearts 4 being announced, this whole Kojima Productions being acquired by Sony MixUp, Vicarious Visions dying, and No More Heroes 3 getting a new port to next-gen systems. Anyway, I'm Brandon. This was Game Corner. Thanks for watching, and have a kick-ass week.